Chris Landry, Mondays, 4 to 4:30, right here on your radio. Streaming on the Zone1059.com. LandryFootball.com is the website. Landry Football on X. Chris, happy Super Bowl week, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Oh, we're doing good. Doing good. Chalking through all the notes and the news. And, of course, we will get to the big game on Sunday. Before we do that, I want to start with the college and then go through the Senior Bowl. I want to ask you about what's going on off the field. Friday, were you surprised to see the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten, Tony Petitti, the astute commissioner of the Big Ten, Greg Sankey of the SEC, join forces here to create an advisory committee to take on the NCAA. Your thoughts, were you surprised, and your thoughts on where this is headed?
Well, I wasn't expecting any sort of an announcement of that. But, so I can't really say, I was expecting that coming. But it doesn't surprise me. It does not. And the reason is just kind of the state of where things are. It's pretty bad administratively on how things are being handled. And I actually did a podcast on it last week at Landry Football because of just the calendar and how it is creating a lot of coaches are just sick of it. I mean, and the commissioners are getting feedback on it. Now, for people who don't know, I'm sure you've mentioned it, but Tony Petitti has a really good relationship with Greg Sankey. The first thing he did when he got the job at the Big Ten is he visited Greg. They go back. I mean, they've never not worked together as far as I know, but they have a good relationship, and there's connections there. So first thing he did is he went and visited Greg, and I think there's been a unofficial alliance, if you will. And look, let's call it what it is. They know that they basically kind of run college football. They have the most power. And I think that they understand that we've got to fix some things because it is, I can't tell you, I said this a couple of years ago. I don't know if we've ever talked about it, but in a lot of my consulting work is coaching searches. And I can't tell you how many college coaches want to get the heck out of Dodge and want to try to get jobs in the NFL. Now, it's hard. There's only 32 teams. It is just so unpopular now, coaching in college, if you've got options. And it's because of a lot of the problems that we have. There's no real rhyme or reason why we do things in terms of the calendar. The early signing day combined with bowl preparation, combined with transfer portal, it's a three-ring circus. So, look, I think that this would at least start some movement to try to figure out a better way to do things. I don't know where it's going to lead, but I think I know where it's headed, and that is we've got to change some things for the way major college programs do things. In terms of what are the rules regarding transfer portal and NIL, and what is allowable, what's not. I think right now we're dealing with a lot of that going on with Tennessee. Is what really happened? Is it really different than what other people are doing? Why did they come after them versus others? And I think I've got theories on that. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see. And for those that realize that we're going to need reform, maybe this is the beginning of a good thing. I don't know if it's going to be what everybody thinks. Like, hey, we're going to break off from the NCAA and we're going to do this. The NCAA it deserves tons of criticism. But if we don't have a governing body, there is no college football. I mean, there's no way, and people don't understand that the NCAA is its member institutions. I mean, so when you criticize, you're criticizing your institutions. It's in and of itself. We need to reorganize it, but the concept of that we need a governing body it's pretty clear that we do. What other system of a big environment to the level of college football can just go out without any rules and no enforcement? We've got to have a way to clean it up. So, yeah, hopefully this leads to good things.
Chris Landry talking NCAA reform, Monday edition of the program. We'll get to the Super Bowl here in just a bit. Hey, what about Chip Kelly? What's going to happen with him? The signs of he wants out at UCLA. There's excerpts and pieces out there on different publications about they should have done this last year. Is he screaming for the mountaintop? He wants out this year. I mean, what happens with him in UCLA?
He definitely wants out, and kind of for the reasons that I mentioned. I can tell you this, there are a number of coaches that if they can get into the NFL, they would. Chip Kelly would rather be an offensive coordinator in the NFL than be a head coach in college football. That's where we are, and he's not alone. There are a lot of them, and it may be at maybe your favorite school out there that if given the choice of the lifestyle of being able to work in pro football versus in college football right now, that's where we are. And I believe a lot of that is being shared by, those that work at the administrative level. And I think they're concerned about that. The money has become great in college, so that was always the big thing. You get paid a lot more money in the NFL. Well, you can get paid a lot in college now. But the lifestyle, you can get paid more money even still in the NFL and have a much better lifestyle. And I think that's the biggest issue. That's the biggest problem that they have right now, because you're recruiting 24/7, 365, because you have to recruit your own players every day. There's not an assistant coach, much less a head coach, that has a day that goes by that he doesn't have one player come in talking about, I need more money because so-and-so's at this other school is talking about I can go here and do that. You're recruiting your own players every day. It is a big, big issue that we've got going on. So, yeah, Chip is one latest example. He's not just, something's going on unique at UCLA. You're not hearing a lot of it at other places, but it's happening. And as I said, a lot would leave if they could.
Chris Landry on your radio. Make sure to find him on X at Landry Football, LandryFootball.com. Chris, the Senior Bowl was this weekend. You just kind of look at, and I know we've talked with you about this, so just humor me, on the projections from NFL.com or ESPN, and we've talked through, and we'll do this again, about evaluating quarterbacks and players as you move into the draft. But how much movement can you make as a quarterback at the Senior Bowl? How important is the Senior Bowl when you look at Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Spencer Rattler gets the MVP. There's a lot of buzz around him. Michael Pratt, Joe Milton, Sam Hartman from Notre Dame, Carter Bradley from South Alabama. That week, how important is that week?
It's important. It's timely, by the way. I also did a post on that at Landry Football talking about what we look for, because I spent 3 days there last week. It's different than what people think. So at the Senior Bowl, here's what really matters. The practices, the game, you get the tape, and we get all the practice tape too. But you can go out there as a staff, as a scouting staff, and it's a way to kind of get there and look at players in an individual sense that you may have seen during the season, you may not. But they're put in environments that basically expose their individuality. It's completely different than any other game or practice. We're trying to make it to where you can evaluate the players individually and not collectively as a team. I think it's important in that, particularly for smaller college guys, because there's a chance to do things against a better level of competition than you've had all year long, or your career even, depending on where you went to school for 3 or 4 years. And I think it really kind of showcases their skills. If you play well, I think you can help yourself. If you don't, it's understood, because it's a hodgepodge of, you don't have any kind of synchronicity with your opponents, with your teammates rather, because you haven't practiced but 2 or 3 practices. So I think it can help yourself, not hurt yourself. And I think all it does is another piece of the puzzle, another step along the evaluation process, because people look at it now as they think, oh, okay, now it's scouting season now. No, scouting season is 12 months a year. So the biggest, most important part is what happened in the fall evaluating guys. this is just a time where the coaches on NFL teams who don't get to look at players during the NFL, college players during the season, get their first look at them, and obviously sometimes can get a little too excited one way or the other because maybe they haven't done enough film work. So I think it's important. You got to temper it and put it in context with how the guy's played throughout his career. But I think smaller college guys that show that they can match up against, higher level guys, I think it's huge for those guys.